Hey y'all, this is Gabe's Nutritional Wellness Ramblings. I got kind of bored, so figured maybe I'd make a podcast. There is some value to be had in podcasts for a man who's bored, so I figured I'd try this out, see where it goes, where it leads, and I suppose for a first topic, it might be good to start with obesity in the world. As a nutritional therapy practitioner, I see a lot of clients that are very obese, and people wonder, why is there so much obesity in America? Well, one of the reasons there's obesity in America is, well, not only do we eat like horrible foods, but we eat a ton of carbohydrates, a lot of carbs. This all began maybe back in the 60s, into the 80s, with a man named Ancestral. Good researcher, good man. He meant well. He was one of the guys that started doing rationing for the U.S. Army during World War II, which, vulnerable, did a lot of good. I think he's one of the reasons why we have MREs today. But going back to the topic, right? The whole idea of a low-fat diet was never a good idea. There's a lot of data out there in the world, right? Some data good, some data bad, some cherry-picked, some funded by big pharma, big agriculture, big junk food, whatever have you, influencing all these organizations around the world, high prestige, data. And I think what's weird is 90% of data isn't researched. And it's not that it's not researched, but they just don't want to publish it. If you don't publish this data, right, which may be good, may be bad, has the outcomes you want, or doesn't have the outcomes you want, then you get to the point where science is wrong as a whole. So there's a lot of data we don't get. And one of the data we didn't get, right, was something called the Minnesota Coronary Experiment. And this experiment showed that eating more saturated fat was healthy. But how does one define healthy? Well, healthy in this experiment was classified as a person who ate a diet that was low in fat, right? But at this point, you're comparing fat against other fat, right? Saturated fat was proven to increase LDL, which is a horrible thing, right? But is that bad? Is that a good thing? Well, people with higher LDL tend to live longer. And I find that kind of weird in the literature. If this thing is so bad for us, why are we doing everything in our power, right, for the last 40, 50 years to stop this? Well, as it turns out, data can be wrong. Experiments could be wrong. And from this Minnesota coronary experiment, it wasn't published. It sat in a vault. Well, not really a vault, right? But, a dusty basement. And a researcher was taking out boxes, looking at old data. And he found this experiment, this data, in a really old, I guess it's like a cassette, or maybe like an old school cassette from the 80s or something. I don't know. Probably as old as Betamax or something. But the point being, right, is 90% of research goes unpublished. And this piece of amazing research was stuck in a basement and it wasn't published. And this study would have been groundbreaking if released back in the 80s. But it wasn't until the 2010s where this research was picked up and we found out, okay, everything we knew in the past 40, 50 years about nutrition in terms of fat, cholesterol, LDL, was all terribly wrong, terribly misguided. If anything, it launched us back in the wrong direction. I think it's a good thing this happened, contrary to popular belief, because if we don't go through a phase of being wrong, through a phase of things being unhealthy, then it's like touching a stove, right? That's really hot. You touch the stove, you get burned, and then you realized, okay, let's not touch the stove again. It's an experience we can learn from. Unfortunately, within this path, a lot of our loved ones, a lot of people have succumbed to disease. They did the whole low-fat thing, eating high carbohydrates, low protein for some weird reason. I never understood that one. But for some reason, if this is healthy, why are more people dying of heart disease, cardiovascular disease, getting heart attacks? It makes no sense. It's very contraindicatory of how promoting an idea that's supposed to be healthy is good for you. On the other hand, they're given statins. Statins is interesting because it's supposed to reduce your LDL, your low density lipoprotein. Doctors and researchers say if you lower LDL, then magically you won't die of heart disease. But is it true? I don't really think it's true. The reason it's not true is because the numbers keep going up. So if you're looking for root cause in this world, you're not going to find it from going low fat, doing a high carb diet. It won't work. It hasn't worked. I'm not sure why people are so adamant about pushing such a failed ideology that has ruined the health of many people, not just in the Western world, but even the Eastern world. You know, the United States was supposed to be the bastion of research, data, cutting-edge technology, and still I suppose you could call it establishment, is still telling people to have a low-fat diet. It's healthy for you. Shut up and eat low-fat. You'll be happy. But it's not true. People are getting sicker. They're dying. I mean, I can't even believe that the United States, which, used to have the highest life expectancy in the world, it's fallen. It's fallen lower. I think it used to be like, 88? Now it's 87, 86, maybe even lower than that at this point. I don't even know. Since it's not just heart disease people are getting and dying from. Now it's cancer. And with cancer, we gotta ask, what is propping up all this toxicity in our body? Are we getting rid of toxicity? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things in the world that are toxic. A lot of things polluting the body, polluting the world. And it's so we're also getting that pollution. But in this world that's toxic and polluted, the best thing you do is mitigate your chances of suffering. So to do that, you gotta first begin with obesity, right? Obesity doesn't help anyone. You're fat, you feel lethargic, you have low energy. If you're eating the wrong foods, you're gonna be hungry all the time, every time, 24/7. You gotta have your breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then another snack, then dinner, then maybe a tasty pastry. But at what point does the body say, hey, hold up, I'm satiated, I'm happy, I'm good, I've had enough. But no, we eat all these junk foods that are frankenfoods that are genetically modified, and we keep eating, eating, and eating, and as a result, we get fatter. But why do we get fat? There's a lot of factors for why we get fat, but I like to use the analogy of humans surviving. Not just humans surviving, but we look at animals, right? We have seasons, 4 seasons in this world, and you look at these animals, and they're all similar in the sense that before winter, right, they're preparing to get fatter, to have food, because if you put enough fat on your body, then you don't need to eat. You could use that fat through lipolysis, and you can survive through the winter when there's no food, everything is scarce, and you want to be put on the edge so you don't fall off and die of starvation or be hunted by predators. So, what are humans doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Why has the world failed? Well, I think the reason why we failed is because we're eating all this food that's high in fructose, high in glucose, high carb food, right? And not only that, but we're mixing it. And then when you mix your food, like fats and carbs, you get this problem where you start to store fat for winter. But humans, I mean, we're advanced. We've made it past centuries, and we just keep adapting. But upon adapting, we've gotten better at our technology. We live in cities, big cities. We've industrialized. We have cars. We have farms that can be automated, and so on. But even then, right? If you think humans have lived for millions of years, if you think we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, if you think we're genetically modified by aliens or something, I don't know, right? But the point being, right, is humans have always been animals. We are animals, but we've become very adapted to this new world we created. It can be argued that when humans started eating animals to get their flesh, to get the fat, eating brains, that we've also got bigger brains. We also got smarter, stronger, faster. Something within humans awakened, whether it was that or we had a magic mushroom and we got super high and what was it, Stone Ape Theory? Then perhaps, all these things concur with each other. I don't know. We really don't know. But at some point in human evolution, we need to realize that we're animals, and when you look at animals in nature, they eat what's natural, and they have their patterns. I think humans were natural predators, natural hypercarnivores. I think it was Mickey Pandora's research talking about how we hunted megafauna around the world. Big ruminant animals, like gigantic cows, I suppose, or giant hippos or something, way back when. And we ate their fat, we ate their meat, ate the protein, and every now and then maybe we had a fruit or something. But it's because of that hyper carnivorism that humans became who they were through evolution. And still, we're animals. We're very distinguished. We've come a long way. We wear suits. I mean, it's quite amazing. But I believe people need to understand, even in this modern day world with this technology, humans are animals and we gotta eat like we are animals. But we're very distinguished. We're very adapted to this technology. And just because we have this technology doesn't mean we're any better or different than we were back then. So, what went wrong? I think what went wrong is when humans stopped eating for survival. Now, what does that mean? Humans, like animals, right? Let's say, for example, the bear, right? The bear, before it hibernates, eats a ton of food, ton of berries, ton of fish, gets real fat, real big, puts on a ton of weight. Then he goes off to a cave somewhere and hibernates, tries to sleep through the winter. Then after winter, spring comes back, and oh man, awesome. Back to the grind. Back to hunting, back to getting fish, trying to get berries. Surviving, right? Animals are just trying to survive in this ecosystem. But humans, we are good at surviving. We have houses we live in, we have AC, we drive cars, we have giant cities with millions of people, we have a supply chain around the world, and we're really interesting animals because I don't believe any other animal in the kingdom has what we have done. Yeah, dolphins are smart, but they haven't done what we've done. So what do we do about this? Well, first of all, I think we gotta stop eating a lot of carbs and stop mixing our foods and stop mixing the ratios of the foods we eat. So one thing I see, right, is people like to eat a ton of processed junk food. Processed junk food is designed to make you fat. And let me tell you why. All these big companies, whether you're Doritos or whatever have you, right? They're very smart. They're pushing a product. And like any product, right, you want to sell as much product as you want. If you sell more product, you make more money, you get rich. I mean, we all want to get rich, right? Who doesn't want to? But they hire these food scientists and they design a specific mixture of salt, of fat, of carbs, seasonings, MSG, which is horrible for you. And to make this food for you that's super palatable. I mean, I wouldn't call it food, right? But most people think it's food. So you eat these chips, you eat these processed ice cream, processed baked goods, the candy bars. All that stuff is junk. And it tastes really damn good. You eat that, you want more, and you want more, and you want more. Now, going back to humans as a survival animal, I think humans within their brain reward themselves for finding such tasty, good, sugary, nutrient-dense foods, right? Well, I wouldn't call nutrient-dense, because all these foods are like nutrients. They're like vitamins, they're like minerals. Maybe you get trace amounts of whatever, but it's very macronutrient rich, right? You get your fats, you get your carbs, no protein, unfortunately. But we're trying to store all this energy in our fat cells, and through our fat cells, through lipolysis, we can break down and use that energy. But we don't want to be fat, and we don't want to be super fat. I mean, Saudi Arabia is getting fatter in the world, apparently. Mexico is really fat in this world, too. They all have really high obesity rates. I thought America was bad, but apparently there's other countries around the world that have obesity worse than we do. But can we really blame humans for eating things we find tasty? I'm going to have to blame us, because we have all this knowledge, we're very smart, nutrition's gone a long way, we have a lot of research, a lot of data out there. So, to help with obesity, it's helpful for people to understand what the Randle Cycle is. Now, the Randle Cycle is part of your energy. You make energy from the carboxylic acid cycle, which gives energy to your mitochondria. So either you eat fat for energy or you eat carbs for energy. Either or, right? And it goes through a cycle, and through the cycle, it's much more like a lever, like a switch, right? You eat more fat, you get accustomed to fat, you get ketosis, and then you oxidize and use fat much more efficiently. You get more ATP, more energy for eating fat, and so on. The reverse happens as well, right? You eat carbs, you're used to eating carbs, you're low fat. I mean, I think that's why low fat as a fat worked for quite a while, because through the Randle cycle, you can lose weight, whether you're high carb, low fat, or high fat, low carb. The problem is the extremities, the nutrition. What do you get out of it? Unfortunately, there's not a lot of high carb foods that are nutrient dense for you. You'll find some superfoods, but all superfoods have downsides. Unfortunately, high carb diets are usually very plant based, and plant based have a bunch of plant defense chemicals. And people need to realize that every time you eat food, right, there's always downsides. You take a supplement, right? There's benefits, but there's downsides. There's side effects. So when you take food, you take a supplement, always research what are the side effects. It's important to research this because you may very well be doing something that's harming you. But back to my point as I'm digressing, the problem with high carb is there's all these plant defense chemicals in there, right? You have oxalates, you have nightshades, you have glycoalkaloids, you have antioxidants, and I'm kind of mixed about that. I have a bunch of theories on antioxidants. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad. I don't know. I'll talk about this later in another podcast, but getting back to the point is high carb foods just aren't very nutrient rich. They just don't. Humans weren't accustomed for it. Other animals deserve to eat these foods. So nutrient density becomes important, right? Because we eat the foods that are rich in nutrients, get through all the vitamins, all the minerals, then you don't really get as hungry because your body's happy, it's satiated, and it knows it has the energy to eat. So to have the energy to eat, to feel better, to feel great for overall health, you gotta understand, eat the foods rich. But, again, I'm plagued by the dogma of high carb diet, low fat, plant-based push for everything for some weird reason. If you look at the nutrient density of meat, there's a lot of nutrients in there. A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals. You got all your B vitamins, which is important, right? You need your B vitamins for your metabolism, you need it for energy, B12. You can't get B12 from plant-based sources. I mean, you can, but they're not bioavailable. A lot less stress. bioavailability because it means you can absorb something better, right? Why eat pounds of spinach or pounds of plants when you can eat maybe a few ounces of beef, right? And get all the B12 you need, get all the zinc you need. So that's the rest of people, right? Even if you aren't going to be a hyper carnivore, right? Or go full carnivore, at least up the intake of meat in your diet. Because meat is very nutrient dense. I like beef a lot. I like lamb. Chicken's alright. I don't know. I feel like it's lacking. But when you eat beef, right, you get saturated fat, which is good for you. And people need to understand you need fat for your body. You need fat for all your cells. You have trillions of cells in your body, and they're made of fat. If you have a low-fat diet, then you're going to have poor cells that aren't developed well, aren't developed properly, and may lead to some problems down the line. Also, you need fat to make cholesterol. There's some influence there. Some argue there is an influence, there's not an influence, but really when you look at people who eat keto or they go low-carb, high-fat, whatever, right, you can always tell a difference in their serum levels, which is quite interesting. I don't really buy that cholesterol can't influence anything, because I see it. People who eat more fat tend to do better with the hormones. Women that are struggling with their menstrual cycle, having irregularities, having pain, having discomfort, they tend to do better when they eat a lot more fat, specifically saturated fats, from eating beef and butter. It's important for us to eat more fat because as humans, right, this is what we've adapted to. This is what our ancestors ate. This is the evolutionary past that we deserve and are a part of. It'd be if you give an animal a weird food source they never ate before. I'm sure they'll live, but they'll subsist. And subsistence isn't a good thing. It means they're barely getting by. At that point, you're only eating for energy. You're not eating for your wellness. You're not eating for your body's health. You're not eating for the long term. We're at a point in human stage evolution of industrialization that you can have anything you want. It's kind of awesome. You can get anything around the world. And we take advantage of this in the wrong ways. One thing I tell people, right, is maybe eat around 5-8 ounces of beef 3 times a day, for each meal. We also need to eat a lot less. And that's easy to do once you eat a lot more fat. Fat's satiating, it's nourishing your body. It gives you what you need. Makes the hormones you need for your body to function properly. For your mind, your body, your health, your sex hormones, for your cortisol. These things are very important. For your thyroid. I mean, anything that's a hormone your body has an influence over. And fat can help with that. Because with fat, you eat cholesterol, you make pregnenolone, and you then get the recipe to make any of the hormones your body needs. If you're in a low-fat diet, then you won't make much, and you'll suffer in different ways. But I don't want people to suffer. I want people to figure out what to do best with. So I never tell people to do things specifically. I'll give them tips, I'll give them advice, I'll recommend things to them, but as far as you are who you are, use your intuition. Once you use your intuition, maybe do a food and mood journal, you can figure out what foods you do amazing with. What foods make you feel bad, what foods make you feel different. And upon doing that, you'll find trends and patterns. For example, I love paprika. I think it's a tasty spice. I used to put that on everything. But every time I did that, my joints would hurt. And I'd feel really hot. And for some reason, my sweat would be horrible. It smells real bad. And then at one point I realized, alright, I'm going to cook without spices. Just salt only. And then I realized I had no problems. My sweat wasn't horrible. Had a decent, nice, pheromone scent to it. No joint pain, which is great, right? No one likes joint pain. It's a pain in the ass and in the joints. So when you do this, you get to figure out a picture of what your body does well with. We're all different. We're all very different. We're all damaged in different ways. I'm sure all of us have been a victim of junk food and eating fast food. Growing up, I didn't have the best diet. I ate junk food every single day. Chips, cookies, you name it. Pizza, you name it. Fast food, 2, 3 times a day. That was me. And then you break out the mold and realize when you stop eating these foods, you feel better. And then get to realize, wow, after a while, you feel significantly better. Depending on your problems, right? You get less headaches, less joint pain, you lose weight, get more energy, your workouts are amazing, they're way better. You feel a little bit like Superman, but not quite Superman. So it takes step by step upon realizing what your body needs. So if you want to lose weight, you can do it through either a high-carb diet that's low-fat, which I don't recommend because you'll be lacking all the nutrients and vitamins and minerals from meat. And meat is fatty. So I recommend going more towards a keto way of life. And I only recommend keto way of life for most people because most people stand to benefit. There are caveats here and there, people without their gallbladder, people that have bad digestion, but over time that can be fixed. That can be supported. So once you have all these vitamins and minerals, you start to feel different. You start to feel alive again, more human. When you process junk food and all that crap, you feel kind of angry, kind of on edge, maybe some anxiety. You know, the one thing I hate, right, is really annoys me, pisses me off real bad. It's immature, like a little kid. And that's when people get hangry. You know, it's kind of pathetic. Someone that they get real angry and they're moody and they're pissing people off and they're just being fucking assholes. All because they're hungry. And when you go more high fat and you eat more meat and you feel good, you don't really get hangry. Yeah, I get hungry. I feel a little annoyed. But I mean, I've seen people go off on waiters. I've seen people yell. I've seen people turn into quite literal demons. It's annoying. It's kind of funny because it's pathetically childlike, but oh man. I mean, to see a grown adult act that way is just pathetic to me. But they can't help it because their body is crying for hunger. The hunger of nutrients, vitamins, minerals. And there will be a point where that person, when they go carnivore, eat more beef, go low carb, they're going to feel way better. They're going to feel amazing. They're not going to recognize who they were in the past. It's quite a change. When you change your diet, you change your lifestyle, you get better health, you feel different. Like I said, you feel human. Humans are amazing people. We're amazing creatures. And we eat a horrible diet, you don't feel it. When I was in high school, I wasn't on the best diet. I ate horrible. Ate all the junk food. And to be fair, I was a slacker, but I did well. I think I graduated like top 26 in my class. I was a slacker, didn't really care. I just kind of went along with everything. Did what I had to do. And then I figured during the summer, after I graduated from senior, that I'm going to college. I'm going to college, I better take it serious. So my first step into getting serious is going just full on straight carnivore into a keto lifestyle. The reason I went carnivore instead of keto is because a lot of people don't have the knowledge they need to avoid certain things, right? You have net carbs, you have low carb, you do a lot of simping. You don't know, right? I mean, I've talked to people that claim they're doing a keto diet and they got no results, they couldn't lose weight, and it was all because they were still eating 100, 200 grams of carbs a day. I mean, the problem with carbs, right, is you can really easily mess up getting into ketosis for the first time in your life. It takes a while. Some claim a few days, some claim a few weeks. I don't know, because everyone's different. But if you go carnivore, just to begin your ketosis, then you can easily tell if you're into it, because you get this weird taste in your mouth, like an acetone kind of taste. It's weird. You're not used to it, right? It's your body making ketones for the first time and metabolizing it, and then you kind of get into the idea, right? That okay, I'm on the path, I'm on the journey. So I recommend going pure carnivore to begin keto, just so you don't mess it up. Because if you mess it up, you don't really know. And then people complain, and then you talk to them as I consult with clients, and they're like, "Yeah, you did it wrong. I'm sorry you followed some guru on the internet. I'm sorry you read a little thing on what keto is." But nutrition is very nuanced. Everything has caveats. Nothing is very direct with you. But as someone who can be direct with you, I can say if you want to start keto, lose weight, you know, take over the obesity and become leaner, while keeping your muscle mass, I recommend eating higher fatty cuts of meat kind of later into it. I recommend eating leaner cuts of meat, more protein based, and then maybe adding butter or adding tallow. Very slowly but incrementally, because some people have problems with their gallbladder, in which the gallbladder has to produce more bile. So it needs a little bit of time for your body to adjust the gallbladder's ability to produce bile. I think people should also be careful, right, with the food they eat, because I see people mess up every time, all the time. They go to the store, they look at the health section food, and marketing. I hate marketing. I think marketers are the fucking devil. They are, they truly are. Despicable, they're scumbags. They say a lot of shit that's false. They say it misleadingly. It really makes me angry. But it's disappointing that people would sell out in a way that would detrimentally hurt people in the long run. Some people go to the store, they see a keto bread or keto candy or keto whatever, right? Low carb this, low carb that. And you look at the ingredients are fucking horrible. It's garbage. It's a literal poison. It's like the next iteration of junk food. All you do is put the same ingredients in junk food, but you put in, low carb this, keto that, and you get a frankenfood. They put seed oils, horrible for your mitochondria, damages your health, you feel bad. Might be one of the leading causes of why LDL turns bad, which I'll discuss later on. But when this happens, right, people do keto and they're stalled because there are studies on seed oils that when you eat seed oils over a long period of time, that it's harder for you to lose weight. It's also a strain on your liver because there's a bunch of toxic metabolites your body has to work on getting rid of. And I think I've seen like GMO products in there. I've seen cheap, weird ingredients. Oh, another thing, they add like MSG to it, right? MSG is a neurotoxin. What it does is it excites your brain when you're eating something. And it makes you think it's awesome. It's like the best thing ever, right? It has that flavor of unami, which is that feeling that's not sweet, not sour, not bitter, but it feels just right. Kind of like when you eat meat, right? You eat meat, eat some beef, and you feel right. You feel you're good. You feel you're at ease. So that MSG, monosodium glutamate, and then the zero toxic poison, in my opinion, it damages people's brain, and it makes them addicted into like a junk food fiend. And they want to keep eating these junk foods, and then they complain, "Oh, I did keto, I did this, I did that, and it didn't work for me." Well, they end up overeating on these foods, and they do a weird thing called net carb, which logically makes sense physiologically, because then like erythritol, monk fruit, stevia, that's fine, I guess, for some people. Maybe later, once you lose the weight, maybe a nice snack, a nice treat to enjoy every now and then. But in the beginning, I think that addiction mixed with MSG, which has numerous names. And then one was was it? It's like modified food starch. That's like how they hide it, bastards. And then you get addicted to these keto treats or whatever, right? Keto bread. And then they don't lose the weight. They don't feel better. They still feel bad. Sometimes they feel even worse. So it's really telling people to be careful, right? Of marketers and these junk food products. Because I've been there, I've tried them all. And it really stalls your progress. That little bit of pleasure isn't worth it. Because it's hurting you and your goals. Maybe once you hit your goals, right, you could do it every now and then. That'd be cool, that's fine, no problem. But in the beginning, right, when you start to do something, you don't want to be sabotaged. Because at that point, right, you're bright-eyed, bushy tail, got a little spring in your step, you're changing your lifestyle, you're gonna do some great things. You're gonna start by, changing your diet to get healthy. And then you realize it's not working. And then when it's not working, you feel bad. You feel really bad. Because this was supposed to work. You were promised by some. You're gonna lose all this weight, feel better, have all this energy. You're gonna have this brain fog lifted. You could think better, faster, clear, be amazing. And you can, but beware of eating these foods that are keto approved or keto like or whatever. Avoid them at all costs, please. Also, just I want to recommend adding fruit, not at all. I think something safe to add besides meat would be, I think, salad. I'm a big salad guy. I don't think there's much to it, but salad and olive oil, I mean, that could do the trick for a lot of people, and it has. If it helps you and it works, I recommend doing it. Because you should avoid things that are going to be detrimental. And as a NTP, I want to tell people, do what works best for you. What works best for someone else may not work for you. Because we're all different. We've all been through different things. We're all damaged in different ways. And we're each trying to get to the point of health where we feel the best, feel optimal, can't feel like Superman again. Or feel like Superman at all. I mean, some of us feel horrible our whole life, and then we realize, wow, why didn't no one tell me sooner? Why didn't I do it sooner? So, that's my advice to you, to lose weight, and to not be hit by roadblocks that look promising. So, avoid all junk food, avoid the new iteration of junk food, known as keto, approved products or whatever the crap is. Avoid the sauces. The sauces are another one. It's like 1 teaspoon has a ton of sugar in it. And, you put a little bit of sauce, it's not enough, right? You want more. So you use a whole bottle and boom, it's a lot of sugar right there. And then it kicks out of ketosis. So we're going to begin a keto diet. Go more carnivore-like. Go for the meat. Add butter. Eat some eggs at first. Bacon if you like. Just to get into ketosis at first. Because it is a process. And for a keto, right? The way it works is you drop a bunch of water weight. A ton of water weight. And it's good because now you beat the bloating part. You beat the edema part. Now becomes the weight loss part. Where over time your body will compensate by tapping into your fat reserves through lipolysis and then using that for energy. I would recommend to people at this point, right, that when you exercise at the gym, don't go hard. You go hard, you're gonna feel horrible. You're not gonna feel good. So when you go to the gym, be kind to yourself. Go light. And the reason I tell people to go light, right, is when you go to the gym, right, your mitochondria aren't what they used to be. They're very weak. And over time, as you do keto, and maybe some people will do intermittent fasting for a few months, I recommend doing it maybe on the weekends. Depends on you, your schedule, what works best with you. Because over time, you will have stronger mitochondria and more energy. And on top of that, I recommend people do strength training. Strength training is important because it helps put the necessary stress on your body. People go for hormesis, aka good stress, and it's how your body responds to the stimuli around you. So, for example, you do, let's say, a bench curl, right? Let's say you do a deadlift. Deadlifts are pretty great. You do that, right? The stress on your body tells your muscles, all right, you need to have more energy. You need to get stronger. And out of that, right, people then realize, okay, I'm tired, really tired, I actually feel like crap. But in the beginning stages of keto, maybe for the first month, I'd say go super light on your workouts. Then maybe once you're adjusted, you feel better, you feel like a natural fitting glove, then you can begin doing your workouts the way it used to be. And once you start working out the way you go harder, you want to eat more fat, eat more meat, eat more beef, do what you gotta do. And I don't recommend eating any carbs. Maybe once you hit your goal, right, you could then change and go low carb, get out of ketosis a bit, feel a bit different, and just play around with it once you get your ideal goal weight. But at least you would have known what it feels like to be in ketosis, what it's like to be there, what it's like to get there, what things hold you back, and what things will get you there. So once you get there, you know. Because those who know, they know. Those who don't know, they don't know. So at least in the future, if you want to go back into ketosis, you can do it. And nothing will stop you. So this is what I have to say about obesity in America. There's too much junk food. It's sad. I see the children running around, they're all super obese, they're all fat. They also have a lot of allergies for some reason. I don't quite get that. I mean, as a kid, I had allergies, but man, look at these kids, and it's kind of sad that we're giving these kids junk food, a bunch of bread, gluten, pasta, macaroni, on top of processed crap, a bunch of chemicals added, and their little bodies, their liver, has to try and detox this stuff. And I mean, who knows, right? What they add to this stuff. A lot of things are FDA approved, or they're not approved, or there's a term they use generally regarded as safe, and that can mean anything. It could be horrible, it could be poison. Because there's no studies to back it up, right? It's like, all right, well, we can't prove it's good, we can't prove it's bad, so food manufacturers can put these things in their ingredients. So I recommend people read the back of a label. That's important. The label gives you all the knowledge you need. This knowledge helps you understand whether the stuff you put in your body is poison or not. So part of being of a healthy lifestyle is you got to be able to discern things for yourself. Read the food label. See what it says, what's in it. I'm surprised. I mean, I read some things. I read that it was a yogurt, just because I read everything. I go to the store, I'm like a little kid, and I read all the labels. See what's new, what's good, what's bad. It's fun for me. I'm a nutritionist. That's my thing. So, you can judge me. But one time I read a yogurt, and the yogurt had no fat. And that was crazy. How does the yogurt have no fat? Like zero. It was all sugar, it was all carbs. It was like 20 grams of carb for this little tiny yogurt thing. Then I look at it and like, it's not from a cow. But yet they label it as yogurt. And then I wonder, why else do they label it's a certain product that isn't what it is? In America, our cheese is a disgrace. The Italians hate us. They would hang us. They would disparage us. They would do worse, horrible things to us because of the way we treat cheese in America. In America, cheese is considered, I think, like what, over 50, 51% of cheese that then becomes considered cheese, if not cheese. Below like 51%, it's a cheese product. In Italy, if the cheese isn't pure, or there's standards of what the ratio is of what you want, because I mean, they have like hundreds of cheeses, right? Eggs and all these things, and they got cheese wheels that are there for like 10 years in a basement and they're still good. I mean, they know their shit. In America, our cheese is fake. Full of crap, fillers, preservatives. And yet in Italy, they got natural cheese wheels lying in a dusty basement that is still good to eat. So we gotta be thankful to Italy and maybe follow their ways of the cheesemongers. Because the cheese we eat in America isn't cheese. That yogurt I saw wasn't yogurt. Then I'm looking at alternatives to certain things. One of them being the Impossible Burger, which is just complete garbage, complete poison. It's all this plant-based crap, which, at the end of the day, it costs a lot more money to make. It costs a lot more destruction on the environment. And at the end of the day, it can't even mimic the power of a fresh burger. I think it's insane how people want to replicate all these meat foods, right? That we naturally have. Slaughter a cow, slaughter an animal. You get what you get. The animal, it's like a sacred social contract of care. You have an animal, you feed it, you give it a good life. It enjoys nature, the outside. You slaughter it, and then, you thank the animal. You pray for its nourishment that you were given. Because a cow can feed you and your family for months. Whereas an Impossible Burger can't really feed you in the same way. The farming practices can be destructive. People like to look at the meat lobby and say they're bad. I agree, a lot of them can be bad. They have controlled feeding of the cattle, and, the chickens are the worst ones. People talk about salmonella chicken, right? I think there was a big argument on Twitter. It was like, do you wash your chicken, or do you just not wash your chicken before you cook it? And it's everywhere. Yes, you do. Yes, you don't. You get salmonella over your sink. You get it everywhere, over the counter. I think the problem, right, is salmonella occurs, right, because these chickens, you watch the videos of how they do these operations. All these chickens are caged up in a coop somewhere, a giant warehouse, and man, they're sick. They're just shitting on each other. They're dirty, living in unsanitary conditions. And people call pigs dirty, but look at the chickens and the way they're raised. That's garbage. That shouldn't happen. That's why there's salmonella. These chickens are basically sick their life, and if we slaughter them and breeding sick chickens, the cows to one extent, because when you give a cow, grains, right? Cows don't eat grains. That's not natural. They eat grass and different herbs on the ground. That's their thing. And, all animals can get human-like disease, symptoms, ailments, illnesses, whatever you call it. So you feed these cattle grains, and they don't eat grains, they eat grass, right? They give them soy, corn, whatever have you. Sometimes there's mold in there, and the cow gets heartburn. So they basically get the cow calcium bicarbonate, which is basically, Tums, just to make sure the cow can feel better. But the cow's eating things it's not supposed to eat. And I feel bad. Because in America, we have a lot of good farmers out there that deserve more help, more aid, because they've been practicing ancestral, natural practices of farming for quite a while. All sorts of families. And yeah, here we are stuck with this industrial size scale of farming that we're deluded into thinking that is the only way. It's not the only way. There's a bunch of families working on good, fertile land, feeding the cows nutritious grass, and in turn, we eat the nutritious cow. So things can change in this world, It's making sure you go to the store, right? And you vote with your dollars. After all, America's a capitalist nation. Whatever you think, right? Whatever you buy, there's demand, and demand will ask for more supply. And supporting these farmers by, buying grass-fed and finished meat, buying chicken eggs or chicken that's pasture-raised, cage-free. You gotta realize, in the long run, that although these things can be a bit more pricey, a little more expensive than your usual stuff, at the end of the day, you're supporting an economy for foods to be natural the way they were again. Before, like, the 60s of industrialization, everything was natural. Everything was organic. There was no pesticides and insecticides and GMOs ruining the foods we ate. I mean, people back then were healthy. I think they were healthy because they weren't eating the little intricate crap that they put into foods. And then I saw something about organic apples being sprayed with something called a peel, which apparently is like a pesticide that's labeled, which is kind of weird, right? Why would you eat an apple that's pesticide ridden? But I recall there being a lawsuit with Monsanto over glyphosate, and the reason they allow glyphosate, in a judicial court is because it's only one toxin, whereas I believe the defense team argued it's fine to do so because plant compounds have hundreds of defense chemicals that we're eating. So what's another toxic chemical, right? Well, glyphosate ruins your gut, microbiome, it dies. Then you get this overrun of small intestinal, what was it? I think it's called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. SIBO for short, it's called SIBO. But you're colonizing your gut with yeast. That's not good for you. You get oral thrush. I know people get athlete's foot. People get all sorts of problems with yeast. And it's because we eat these veggies, right? I mean, veggies can be redeeming. They could be good. Depends on you, right? Some veggies are good, some are bad. But if they're not organic, they're sprayed with this pesticide crap, glyphosate, and it can be damaging to your health. So if you ever do buy anything that's plant-based, veggies, fruits, if you're on the other side of healthiness and have achieved your health goals, then I recommend always buy everything organic. And when you do buy everything organic, go home and wash it. Because the problem with organic today is things are not 100%. There's always going to be a runoff of pesticides, toxic metals, and other things run off to the ground, and then you then get organic foods, but they're still raised in this bad soil. I mean, although they're still there, right? You're really mitigating maybe over 50-80% of what you would have gotten. So we'll tell people, make sure to buy organic. It's important. I like specifically the USDA organic, or wherever nation you're from. I don't know about your standards, but in my opinion, I think the USDA standard is pretty high. I saw the non-GMO verified project, but that stuff is garbage. Might as well be GMO and regular crap anyway. Such a fake certification. But as you go through your health journey and you want to get better and healthier, I'd say start keto. More meat-based, more carnivore. Ignore all the keto junk foods. Because at the end of the day, right, these junk foods, they're not going to help you. And people are going to talk about keto being bad for you. It's going to ruin your life, or, it's all these people that indoctrinized. It's sad, right? Think about it, right? There really exists a group of professionals out there in the world, right? Some even from the best institutions of learning, the best institutions of knowledge, academies, high-ranking researchers. And then I realized, maybe they're not dumb. Maybe they're just greedy. Because unfortunately in this world, right, money runs everything. But it's not money that destroys life, it's the love of money that destroys their life. So you have these researchers, they're not dumb, they know what they're doing. They manipulate data, manipulate research, because they get grants, they gotta do grants and conduct research in a way that benefits the person who gave them the grant, who gave them the money. And these people will profit, make a ton of money, and will make lies, deceitful lies, shit to tell us. Keto's bad for you. In the long term, it's going to damage you. It's going to give you heart disease and heart attacks and all these things and diabetes and whatnot. But the literature doesn't really show that. When I read research on keto, it's kind of comical. In my opinion, I think keto is something that puts you into ketosis, right? Obviously, right? It takes a while to get in ketosis. Some 2 weeks, some 4 months, a few months. It depends on where you've been in your health journey, right? But they'll get these researchers, they'll put, you know, low-fat diet, high-carb diet group, and then they have a keto group. And then I look at the data, and it's like, oh, well, the keto group was like 150 grams of carbs or some shit like that. And I'm like, that's wrong. And they're like, oh, well, conclusively, we showed zero benefits of keto. And it's like, well, no, the study was flawed to begin with. They didn't even test for the people to be in ketosis, because it takes a while to get into there, right? And when you do these studies, they're malignant. It hurts the community as a whole, of people, of researchers, because now the data is skewed with the conclusions, right? You ever know someone that reads a headline? You know? The news people do it all the time, right? I think it's pathetic, right? But they'll put an outline for this article titled Something Outrageous. And, they do so you can read, right? Because that's provocative, right? This or that. Didn't read the article, right? Actually read it. And it has nothing to do with what the title was. Very misleading. You almost feel kind of robbed that you wasted your time reading something because the headline was just complete bullshit. And that's how I feel about some studies, some research studies that talk about keto. Because they were never doing keto to begin with. I think keto started around maybe 2012. It's been 11 years, and it's been gaining more traction because it's been successful. It's worked for people. They've done rather well with it, and they're still doing rather well with it. So over time, as we get to see a change in the pedagogy of how people are taught in schools, we're going to get people that are going to be researchers and doctors and all sorts of people around the health space to live a keto health style. And then they will conduct their research. And then if they have enough integrity, they're going to decline the grants that want them to look for this problematic thing of keto. Oh, it's so horrible for you. It does this, this, and that. It's causation, correlation with the worst things in the world. You will die and get heart disease and diabetes. But I haven't seen that. If it was such a problem, then by now the epidemic would have imploded already. I'm sure there'll be some problems. There's always problems with everything. But it hasn't done what the researchers, the establishment researchers have said it was going to do. I don't see people dropping dead from keto. I don't see people getting heart disease from keto. I mean, keto has been originally used for, since the 1920s, that's when it got popularized, but I believe it was like the 1860s or the 80s. There was another researcher, I think it was a doctor, who figured out, oh yeah, just a meat-based diet, fat diet, with no carbs, will put a person who has dementia or Alzheimer's back into their power to remember, to think, to recollect, to get back their mental clarity. Because ketones pass the blood-brain barrier. And people with Alzheimer's, they're at the point of, in my opinion, it may be a cause of neuropathy in their brain, or their brain cells are dying. There's something wrong with the blood-brain barrier. So the glucose transporters are damaged, so you can't get this energy of glucose into the brain. But with keto, into ketosis, ketones as the energy source, boom, straight to your brain. It works. How about that? Kind of like magic, right? You would think this wouldn't work if keto was so bad. But it's helped people with Alzheimer's. And I don't think people are going to like that one bit. It's all the sugary glycation, the diabetic problems of high A1C, plagued by years of, A1C, right? A1C is basically when your blood's so sticky. I tell people, You could think about A1C kind of like caramel, right? Caramel is when you get sugar and you put it on high heat and it gets this sticky, ugly, nasty fucking texture, right? So this is how I told people to think of their blood, right? And it takes years to do that, right? In a high-carb diet. But if you get a test right, A1C would be a good test to get. Because as long as you're like 5.7 and below, you're good. If you're pre-diabetic, in my opinion, you're still glycating. And even if you maintain it there for quite a while, right? 30 years, I'd say, 20 years maybe. Maybe even less, I don't know, right? You could still get glycation occurring slowly. All this oxidative stress. If you have a really high A1C, then, the problems are going to come faster, right? Some even argue that the most logical conclusion, right, for what Alzheimer's and dementia is, it's basically your brain becoming a type 3 diabetic. And some even argue that cardiovascular disease is diabetically induced by this high A1C, high blood sugars. But I think that's a talk for discussion for another day. It's already been an hour. I've just been talking and talking and rambling. I think I provided some value. Although I think I repeat myself a lot. I don't know. This is my first podcast. I guess we'll see where it goes. We're trying to do it daily. I'm kind of bored. But might as well give value to someone out there listening. I don't like the sound of my own voice, so I'm not going to hear this. But hopefully you enjoy my voice. Hopefully it's been clear and coherent. But let me know what you think. It's kind of exciting. I like talking. Just staring at the wall. Voicing my opinions and my ideas. What I think. Because I'm just used to listening to people talk and I'm always hearing. I'm perceptive, I'm always hearing. But I never really get to talk about what I think. So I'll leave this off and then maybe tomorrow I'll think of another topic to talk about. So yeah, in closing, what you want to do is make sure to go more carnivore meat based, maybe a little bit of salad here and there, and enjoy the next 2-3 months and gain ketosis, lose your weight, do better, see how you feel. After the first month, go back to the gym, start slowly, incrementally get better, eat a little more, get your energy back. Because, I'm gonna close with this, right? But the more you work out, right, the more glycogen you get. And I tell people to work out, do resistance training, lift weights. And lift weights until you can't lift weights anymore. Go until you just have no energy left. And that will help tell your body, right, a signal, okay man, what we gotta do is after you're done, you rest. We're gonna give you stronger muscles because, of course, right, you need bigger muscles. You need more muscle cells. We're gonna expand your muscle cells and you're gonna get stronger. People want to get stronger, right? But we also want to have more stamina, more energy. You want to have the endurance to continue doing your workouts. So when you work out to failure, right, to where you just can't do it anymore, then the body says, all right, we're going to help with glycogen. Now, glycogen is the energy that goes to your muscles. And once you do that enough, then you increase your gas tank, your tank of glycogen. Because I think people get stronger and then they're still kind of weak, right? Yeah, you're stronger, you lift more, you can pick up more, but you get tired the same way. You just don't go on long as you want to go, right? You kind of want to feel like Superman, right? Sure, you can pick up 200 pounds, right? But don't you want to do that a lot more? So it's a lot more just strength. It's also energy and building energy. So when you do work out after that first month of keto, make sure to start slowly, go hard, and lift until failure. And make sure you lift something comfortably, right? Comfortable, but yet provoking, right? You don't want to lift so light that it feels you're like, I don't know, picking up a raccoon or something, or a cat. You want to kind of feel that struggle, right? You want to kind of, have that fight within your muscles. You always want to push yourself a little bit, but not too hard, Corey. Because if you push too hard, then you're just going to feel bad. You want to feel like you slayed the dragon or something. All right, I guess I'll leave off. Thank you for listening. I'll continue this later on, and tomorrow we'll see. I'll figure out a topic, but yeah, that's it. Thank you. Enjoy your day, and may the world benefit you the way you wish to be benefited. Thank you.